Well, welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you with us. Tonight I'm going to make cast iron corn muffins, and I'm going to make them in the very same pan that my great-grandmother used. Then my grandma used it, and my mama used it, and I'm using it. Here are your ingredients. Please pause, write them down, and hey, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We appreciate it. Well, let me introduce you to my magic muffin pan. This belonged to my great-grandmother, Martha Elizabeth, and she stayed with my grandparents when I was very little. And this is old. You see the gate mark? It has no name on it. I have no idea when it was manufactured, but I know that my granny was born in either 1863 or 1864, but I don't even know if she was the first owner of this pan, and I won't be the last. So right away, I'm going to cause a controversy. Do you have to heat your cast iron before you cook cornbread in it? No, you don't, but you can if you want to. I don't. My mother didn't. My grandmother didn't. My granny didn't. We oiled it, greased it with lard. There's no right or wrong to this. I just don't like handling a hot pan, so I don't do it. And somebody's going to say, oh, well, you won't get a good crust if you don't heat the pan. Yes, you will. Watch and see. But you do it the way you want to do it. I use a cold pan and a really hot oven, and I get a really nice crust. Just make sure that you get it completely covered. Now, this recipe fits my muffin pan pretty well. My muffin, the individual muffin holes are a little over 2 ounces, so this is going to be really close. This is 1 cup of self-rising cornmeal, a 1/3 cup of lard. You can use Crisco, you can use butter, 1 egg, and I've got 4 ounces, 1/2 cup of milk here. Now I do this like I do my biscuits. Wash your hands and mix it with your hands. That's to get the lard all through it. You can do it with a fork, but it's easier to do it with your hands. And I cream the egg and the shortening together and then pour the milk in. If you don't have access to self-rising cornmeal, take a 1 cup measure in a tablespoonful of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoonful of salt, fill it up to the brim with plain cornmeal, and then sift those together, and you'll get the same consistency and the same product. So you want to mix this really good. And one thing about making cornbread is there's no gluten, so you don't have to worry about over mixing, under mixing. Just make sure that you get all the little lumps of shortening lard mixed all the way through it. And you can see the consistency you're going for here. I guess mashed potatoes, a little bit looser than biscuits. And there we go. That's all there is to it. And I'm using a 2-ounce scoop, and you can just use a tablespoon if you want to. You should know when you're making muffins, blueberry muffins or cake muffins or whatever, you're told to only fill the muffin cup 2/3 full. But cornbread doesn't rise the same way. And so you can fill them almost full. That one's a little over. I'm going to take some out. But these muffin cups are about 2 1/4 ounces, and I'm putting about 2 ounces in. And my recipe works out to just a little over 12 ounces. So just put them in there and go ahead and fill it up, and you don't worry about them going out all over your pan. And this pan makes nice big corn muffins. And I guess my grandmother made a million of them. She also used this pan for regular muffins. She would make something that was just like biscuit muffins that were really good. And when you're a little kid, a flour muffin is a real treat. So here we go. We're going to fill them up. Almost done. And when I get them full, I'm going to put them in the oven, at a preheated oven at 425 for 20 minutes. You know, stoves are going to vary, but these don't have to cook quite as long as a pan of cornbread. And they're going to get nice and crispy on the bottom. just push them out to make sure the little flower petals are full. This is a really thick batter, and it won't spread out like a muffin or a cupcake batter does. And one thing I do before I put them in the oven is I wet my fingertips and pat them down just a little bit. That makes the top smooth. Makes your final product a little prettier. So in the oven, preheated, 425, 20 minutes, I'll be back. And this is what we have. See, they're rounded over a little bit, but they didn't cook out of the pan. I'm going to let these cool about 15 minutes. If you have trouble with your cornbread sticking, just let it cool for about 15 minutes. See how easily those flip out? Of course, this pan is way past its age of sticking, but cooling them lets them naturally contract and they come out easier. And please take note, these are nice and brown and crispy on the bottom without heating the pan. And please, if you want to heat your pan, feel free to. I just have folks yell at me on Facebook that you have to heat your pan first. No, lots of people don't, and this works just fine. And I don't burn my fingers. So let's cut into one of these. I want to show you. This is soft and tender inside, crunchy on the outside. I'm going to have a bite. And you know I love cornbread. It's a carb I cannot live without. And this is crunchy. All it needs is a little butter. But let me show you how I'm going to serve these tonight. I'm going to use these to dress up my homemade cheesy broccoli pepper soup. And I'll give you that in another video. But cornbread and soup, to me, is just the perfect combination. And I'm going to really enjoy dinner tonight. And I hope that you will give this a try with your own soup or with beans or whatever you like cornbread with most. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you. Hope to see you again tomorrow.